Nature's beauty. Nature's fury. To know her intimately, you must experience her extremes. There are no rules, no boundaries, no timeouts. Action heroes in the flesh, those who dare to push the limits, reap the rewards. But the bottom line, however, is that living this close to the edge, an error can prove fatal. From high above the earth to deep beneath the sea, prepare to dive into the action and be as close as you can get. The science of extreme sports. Hold your breath and dive deep into the sea and the limits of human ability. Known as freedivers, they carry only the air in their lungs, yet stun the scientific world with dives deeper than ever imagined. The ocean pressure crushes their bodies, vital functions shut down, and oxygen deprivation sets in. But it's during the ascent through the Blackout Zone which makes freediving one of the most dangerous sports. Join world record freedivers Yasemin Dalkilic, David Lee, and freediving trainer Rudi Castineyra as they explore how deep the human body can go on one breath of air.
Freedive.
Although 80% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, the deep sea still remains a place where anything can happen and nothing is certain. For those willing to explore it through freediving, the underwater world offers adventure and an awakening of aquatic abilities. Freediving is exactly that. Diving free without the burden of a breathing apparatus like a scuba tank or an air pump. Since you carry your own air in your lungs, not compressed air, there is no need to make decompression stops on your way back to the surface. Free dives are short in duration, lasting only as long as you can hold your breath, but are rich in sensations. It is a pure form of diving and interacting with nature that can be practiced and enjoyed by everyone. Taken to an extreme level, however, the quest to break world records, freediving becomes one of the most dangerous sports.
Freedive.
The most important thing for all of us is to do things in a very safe way.
In an attempt to make it safer while still advancing the sport, renowned Cuban-American freediving trainer Rudi Castineyra designed a sophisticated training regime that can turn regular people into world champions and is part of the secret to unlocking man's innate deep diving potential.
Although freediving is a very unique and fulfilling endeavor, it is not always a safe one. You are invading an alien environment, which can be a very unforgiving one, and then you're pushing yourself to the limits while depriving your body of its most basic function, which is the act of respiration. Indeed, it can be very dangerous if done improperly. I witnessed many accidents and even deaths of people that were dear to me. And since I knew that the solution was not to stop freediving altogether, I committed myself to finding a method that would maximize performance while keeping the diver safe.
After years of diving and research, Rudi developed a training system that has helped many freedivers reach their goals and break world records in the process. world champions Tanja Streeter and Yasemin Dalkilic both began their professional careers using this system and still remain the best freedivers in the sea. With these excellent results, the next question is, how quickly can someone be trained to dive to world record levels? To find out, we go to Jamaica with computer technician and martial arts teacher David Lee to witness his first ever world record attempt. Although having no background in professional freediving, David will go for the most physically demanding of all freediving records with only 2 months of training to prepare.
You know, I met Rudi, and after the first couple of days, you know, he was more sure of me than I was of myself. So it's a little bit scary when somebody starts talking about, you can do this, you can do that, and you're like, oh, really? I wasn't feeling too certain about this whole world record thing, but Rudi said, yeah, we could do something with you, you know, March, April. And I was like, well, maybe the following year, so we have a whole year to prepare and do all of this. And he's like, no, this year, I'm gonna do it April this year. 8 weeks to organize something like this. At first I was like, there is no way this is gonna happen, but everything worked out good because we're all here now and everything's going smooth so far.
So this was the perfect combination because we have somebody willing and eager to train and do all the suffering that my training requires, and we had a mother who was just willing to push him until he got this world record, and she had the means to back it up, so it was perfect. I mean, I really could not back away from it.
You know, I really think it's a little bit unusual that my mom is pushing me to go deeper, do this world record. She's my best friend and, you know, my biggest fan and supporter, and without her I wouldn't be able to do any of this.
I've had David scuba diving from he was 4 years old, and he started swimming in the Blue Lagoon. It's like deja vu now that he's going to be setting a world record in the same place. This is something he's always wanted to do, and he's getting a chance to do it. I'm really happy for him.
The record day arrives at Jamaica's deep and mysterious Blue Lagoon.
Good luck, David! We're right behind you. There's no doubt in our mind you're going to do it.
I'm a little bit nervous. That's a concern of every mother, but I'm sure everything's going to turn out okay.
David is a perfect match for this training system because he has an incredible discipline for training, he has a tremendous eagerness to accomplish big goals, and his physical ability is unsurpassed. This category is extremely difficult, the most demanding of all categories, because basically it requires a freediver to swim down and up completely unassisted. No fins, no pulling on the rope, nothing at all.
When I started, it was always my dream to free dive to the bottom of the Blue Lagoon. You know, a lot of the locals around, you know, they think of it to be bottomless. You really are scared. You don't know what to expect. If you're following a line, it just seems like you're going into blackness. But once you reach 85, 90 feet, it starts to narrow, and then you start to be able to see walls and rocks hanging off on the side all the way to the bottom.
This frog-style swimming is really ineffective. It's very slow and it consumes massive amounts of energy. And it takes a lot of effort to break the inertia at the bottom before you start on your way up back to the surface. To do all this without fins really makes this category the most physically demanding of all in freediving. Yeah, baby! Right on! Good! Excellent. He was so concentrated in such good shape. I mean, he was right in the zone. I knew we had it the minute we got in the water. It was great, 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 great.
Good job, David. Way to go for Jamaica, and deeper next time.
David Lee, unassisted constant balance, world record.
The significance of David's world record freedive goes beyond the actual depth he reached. With only 2 months of aquatic conditioning, he has trained his body to survive an extended period without oxygen under intense pressure and physical strain. It is a paradox that remains without definitive answers and is the real adventure behind the sport. The science of extreme sports.
Freedive.
How are freedivers able to survive such extreme conditions? To understand more, we look towards the world's best freedivers for answers. A phenomenon known as the diving response mechanism allows air-breathing animals like seals, whales, and dolphins to routinely plunge to astounding depths and remain there for long periods of time while they hunt for food.
Marine mammals are actually having two physiological responses sort of fighting each other. You've got the exercise response, which is saying heart rate increase, get going because I have to support the body and the skeletal muscles. And then you've got the dive response that's saying, nope, turn that heart rate down, get it as low as possible to conserve oxygen. So how is it these marine mammals can hold their breath and exercise and hunt for a meal? That's been something that's been a question for 50+ years now in terms of diving physiology.
Although marine mammals can dive substantially deeper than even the best human freedivers, both share similar adaptations to survive. As a freediver descends, the lungs, which were full of air at the surface, are compressed by the sea pressure to a fraction of their size. The heart rate slows to conserve oxygen in the bloodstream. Blood is redistributed away from the large muscles of the limbs to provide more oxygen to the brain and heart. The lungs begin to fill with blood to prevent them from totally collapsing under the intense pressure, which would kill the freediver. The deeper they go, these adaptations become more acute, but reverse themselves upon ascent. Marine mammals have more blood than their land-based relatives do. They store oxygen more effectively, and their rib cages are designed to collapse under the increasing weight of the water. Lazy on land, the ultimate freediver is the elephant seal, who can dive to 1,500 meters and each day can make 50 to 60 dives and stay underwater for 1.5 hours.
You have to conclude that the animal lowers its metabolic rate. It would be like if you lower the gauge on your furnace at home during the winter, you're using less oil. Well, you're using less oxygen if you lower the metabolic rate. It's a neat trick, and I wish we knew exactly how to do that because it would help in a number of things like surgery, for example, or setting records if you're a human diver. It might be that the people who do this and do it well exert marginally more control than you or I, but perhaps that's sufficient to make an important difference.
Freedive.
A simple but revealing experiment performed right here in our kitchen will show men's innate ability to conserve oxygen when submerged in the water for long periods of time. For that, we're gonna need a bowl of freezing water, a heart rate monitor, and a warm-blooded Jamaican freediver. So let's proceed. While David is breathing here, his heart rate is over 100, so it's very high. Once he submerges his face in the water, we'll see what happens. This experiment shows the adaptation mechanism known as bradycardia, where the heart slows down to very low levels to conserve oxygen. It's beating a lot less now. Wow, 43 beats per minute, eh? Not bad at all. I mean, it's not as good as the dolphins, who can go down to about 30 beats per minute, or the absolute champion, the elephant seal, which can go down to about 4 beats per minute. But nevertheless, this is very good for a human freediver.
Although not a world record or an extreme depth, David's static apnea breath hold demonstrates one of the most important factors in freediving: the body's automatic response to conserve oxygen when submerged underwater.
Freedive.
A low heart rate combined with an efficient swimming style is the secret to deep free dives. Dolphins and seals have evolved their diving capabilities over millions of years, so we can learn from them to be more efficient freedivers.
Marine mammals move very, very little. The least resistance you can have, the less drag that you have to overcome and expend energy to overcome, that's the secret to moving fast and far in the water.
The trip back to the surface is what makes or breaks a freediver. They must use powerful yet conservative movements that don't burn their oxygen reserves completely. Like other athletes, freedivers use pool training, weights, stretching, and diet to maximize their physical potentials.
Three minutes, one on the water, back and forth. That's all freediving is about. 2.5 minutes, nothing else. And you got that. So I want you to keep going. 30 seconds.
Holding their breath while exercising increases their resistance to low oxygen conditions and high concentrations of carbon dioxide and lactic acid in their bodies. This helps them stay calm underwater, especially during the last part of the ascent, where the urge to breathe becomes very strong.
Very few of us really ever venture into the sea. And really, how could it be any other way with how poor a lung capacity we have? I mean, most human beings use less than 10% of their lung capacity, and they rarely get to breathe in the best and the most efficient way.
Breathing exercises are done to increase lung volume, to start the dive with more available air.
Not too much, but just enough to keep the diaphragm unrestricted.
They also learn to draw a much higher amount of oxygen with every breath and flush out as much CO2 as possible. Once a freediver has learned to control respiration, metabolic rate, and efficiency in the water, significant depths and durations can be reached. However, there still remain a few obstacles that can seriously endanger the freedive.
Freedive.
Most people have experienced a squeezing sensation in their ears and sinuses when diving in the water. To offset this, the freediver must constantly equalize the pressure by pushing air from the lungs into the eardrums. In the worst case, the eardrum can burst, and cause painful disorientation as water rushes into the sinuses.
I felt a strong pain in my right ear, a very unusual pain. The pain kept getting worse, and then, like at 75 meters, I felt this big shoo sound in my ear, like an explosion. The whole world started spinning around me. I felt like I was falling off the sled, and I could taste salt water leaking into my throat.
All of a sudden you have water trickling into your inner ear, and basically you're drowning through your ear. You don't know which way is up, which way is down. You're seeing like 5 different ropes to follow, and you're bumping into stuff. It's a terrible, terrible feeling.
You know, most sports really allow for some level of error and few have fatal consequences, but freediving is pretty much like skydiving. You know, one little mistake and you're not coming back. It's very important for me as a trainer to be well aware of the science that surrounds freediving, because the more we know about the physiology of a freediver, what's happening in his body, the more we can prepare for all these things that can happen underwater.
Freedive.
Each year, freedivers fall victim to shark attack while hunting underwater, as the vibrations of the speared fish and the blood in the water can attract hungry sharks. The most common danger, however, is shallow water blackout, the primary cause of death in freediving. It is the choice between a deep or long freedive and the sudden and uncontrollable blackout that can make each dive a deadly activity. While descending or on the bottom, compressed lungs actually have a higher ratio of oxygen to air than they do on the surface. This can make a freediver feel strong at depth, sometimes euphoric, and the freedivers may stay longer than is safe. It is in the last few meters of the ascent that trouble is most likely to arise. Known as the Blackout Zone, the final atmosphere before the surface, the fast-expanding oxygen-hungry lungs can literally suck the remaining oxygen from the victim's blood, causing a complete blackout. Underwater, without help, the unconscious diver will die. If the freediver receives oxygen quickly, consciousness may be restored with little or no permanent effects, except a horrible scare for the freediver and friends.
I've blacked out twice now. Blacking out, you really don't feel anything. You know, you'll be heading back to the surface and you say, oh, well, I feel somewhat lightheaded. And next thing you know, you wake up in your trainer's arms.
The mind leaves the body. The diver keeps kicking, but the mind has left the body. The risk, as in any extreme sport, is that basically you can injure yourself very lightly or you can get killed very easily. That is as simple as that.
You're always exploring the unknown, not only what's down there, but is your body capable of, pulling off what you're about to do. And if you don't make it, it's definitely a huge price to pay.
I can't say he won't push himself to the extreme, because he will. But if he saw any danger, like he's going to put his body through any prolonged ailments, then he's not going to go for it.
I've never been afraid of dying during a record, because we've always set everything up to minimize all these chances of, error, death, whatever wrong would happen. The one thing that I'm concentrating on is being able to reach that goal and get back safely.
Getting back safely is the real goal, yet the number of deaths from shallow water blackout is staggering for the number of active freedivers. The majority of these deaths don't make news headlines, as they are regular people not trying to break any world records, just passing the day spearfishing or freediving without proper supervision. Freediving did make world news after a series of deaths occurred, including the beautiful Audrey Mester-Ferraris in her attempt to break the overall men and women's no limits world record. Unfortunately, most of these accidents could have been avoided with education and following proper safety procedures. Extreme, the highest degree, furthest, most severe science, a systemized knowledge of a state of mind or matter.
Freedive.
At world record levels, not only must a freediver be in peak physical and mental condition before the record attempt, the event requires tremendous logistical considerations, a safety and support structure, and financing to pay for it. If successful, the record will stand until someone else can mobilize the resources to challenge it.
Yeah, before I get in the water, I need to be extremely comfortable, and it depends on all the safety crew. This is actually a kind of team sport. You know, without them, I can't do this because I'm not going to risk my life alone like that.
Rudi has organized a complex support structure to aid Yasemin in the deepest freediving category known as No Limits. Using a weighted sled to descend and a lift bag balloon for the ascent, this equipment-assisted freedive allows her to go significantly deeper with as little effort as possible. While trying to relax and conserve oxygen, it tests the freediver's nerves and pain threshold to the limit. It's also the category that most freediving organizations are apprehensive to support after the recent tragedies during these events. Far out of view from the surface, in the darkness, a safety team of scuba divers is placed at regular intervals all the way to the goal depth, and all trained to deal with an emergency in a quick and effective manner. Everything must go to plan. The equipment has to work flawlessly, especially the deployment of the lift bag balloon to quickly carry the freediver back to the surface. There is a high danger level not only for the freediver, but also for the entire team underwater, as the depths are extreme for both sports. After a long breath hold, the blackout zone remains the final hurdle to overcome, and if successful, fresh air is the ultimate reward. Panic situations underwater can endanger both the freediver and the safety divers, so the safety team trains with emergency drills weeks before the record attempt. If the freediver blacks out, they must be passed from diver to diver all the way to the surface, where resuscitation can be applied correctly. The ocean is a harsh environment, where mechanical failure is a high possibility, so practice dives are done to address any foreseeable problems.
Freedive.
This is a mission, what we call a mission or a project type of dive. You're more equipment dependent, there's more equipment involved in it. Possibilities of things going wrong are greater, so it involves a team effort and support team. 70 meters is the deepest we'll let a diver go on air. Diving air at greater depths, it starts involving a problem with nitrogen narcosis, and these divers, their responsibility is for the safety of the freediver. They have to have their wits about them at depth, so in case there's an emergency, they can assist the freediver to the surface if they're having problems or so forth. Below anything around 70 meters and deeper, we generally use a mixed gas diver, because with mixed gas we're able to eliminate or minimize nitrogen narcosis, so the performance of the safety diver is up to where it needs to be. Mixed gas diving is sort of the top of the pinnacle in the diving arena. What would be a small or minor problem at a shallower depth on air can be a potential fatal situation on mixed gas because you are so deep.
The diving safety officer's role is critical when positioning the team at these extreme depths. Very specific calculations have to be made to balance the gas mixture each diver breathes while under the intense water pressure and cold temperatures found hundreds of feet below the sea surface. By adjusting the ratios of oxygen, helium and nitrogen in each diver's tanks for each particular depth, the trimix allows Bob to minimize the decompression time, keep the divers comfortable and as clear-headed as possible, and limit nitrogen narcosis as well as oxygen toxicity.
With using the helium at a equivalent air depth of 130 feet, in other words narcosis value of 130 feet, it really helps us to concentrate on our job and have a clear mind. Whereas if we're diving on air, how we used to before, at 200, 250, vision starts to get a little bit distorted and you start to feel a little drunk.
It takes an experienced diver because you're out in the blue with no visual vertical reference. It's sort of like a pilot having to trust instruments. You look at your depth gauge and that says how deep you are. You look around and it's just all blue. There's a lot of people that will dive in blue water that have gotten into trouble because they have no visual reference. They don't pay attention to depth, and you can just kind of drift off into the abyss and not even realize what you're doing. The deeper you go, the more air or gas that you're going to breathe. They carry their gas that they need with them, but we also, along the decompression line, have other tanks of gas, extra gas staged there in case there was an equipment failure or in case they did encounter more current than they anticipated and they breathed more rapidly than they thought they were going to and they used more gas. Once they're at depth, they can't just come to the surface. They are obligated to make decompression stops, and some of their decompression stops are deeper than a lot of people would recreationally dive.
Although the trimix greatly reduces decompression time, the two deepest divers will still surface 2.5 hours after Yasemin.
Freedive.
World record freediving requires deep water and calm seas. Turkish waters provide a stable environment for our divers. After a month of constant diving for Yasemin and her team, the time has arrived for the deepest freediving attempt, ominously known as No Limits.
Good morning. How you doing? What?
Testing.
The production crew makes final adjustments for this very technical shoot. Readying to transport television viewers from around the world magic images from far below the surface of the sea.
Easy on the transition back to the chest.
Yasemin and Rudi calmly work through the final stages of her breathing cycle. With 2 warm-up dives, Yasemin prepares her body for the great crush of pressure and lack of oxygen that she will have to endure.
Okay, ears fine, silences.
Once on the sled, deep breaths help her ease into her element. Now she is in the zone.
Okay? All right, guys. You all have a good dive and good luck to you all. Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Ready, girl?
The final breath is very important because this air will be the only source to feed my body during the 120 meters round trip. So after my deep breath, I pack some air in my thorax, and when I'm ready, I give the signal to release the sled and start my drop. The first 40 meters I try to use as little air as possible to clear my ears, because I will need that air at deeper depths when equalizing will become much harder. As I go down, I feel my lungs completely filled with plasma up to my throat. So I start moving my abdominal section in to push the plasma up and push the air above it into my inner ear. But as I go down, at around 90 meters, I feel plasma in my sinuses and my eustachian tube. From that point on, I don't need to equalize much anymore. The feeling of plasma in my throat and the effects of nitrogen narcosis slowly disappear.
In an unplanned turn of events, Yasemin mistakes the 45-meter signal for the last one at the surface. She leaves the lift bag with triple the distance she is prepared to swim.
Not on it. Get ready for emergency. Get the boat in here. You got an oxygen regulator up there. They're coming up under the boat.
Boy, you scared the crap out of me. From 45 meters out home. I went down like to 15 and I couldn't see you.
We didn't see her coming up, so we thought a diver was bringing her up.
Okay.
Scared her. So she left it and came up over there under the boat. And we thought they were emergency, so we hollered and started getting ready for her. But it's a record now, and she's in great shape.
So I heard the signal at 45 meters and I looked around, and compared to 120 meters it was very light, so I thought it was 15. I left the lift bag and I always feel myself, very buoyant after 15 meters, and I didn't feel that.
In this clear water, the lift back at least for 35, 40 meters. So we saw it, but there was not a yellow suit hanging from it, so wondering where she was, and I kept going down a little deeper, like at 20 meters, I still saw her, a far stretch from me, deeper, just swimming, little thing in the distance. So all of us were like, oh, God almighty, please. At that point, though, the current made us drift, right underneath the boat, so my concern was that she was gonna slam right into the boat. And I think we came up probably, 10 inches away from it, if that much. But we did it. It happened, and if anything, that served to show in what good shape she was.
We couldn't do without you. I appreciate that very much, and thank you all for this.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Freedive.
Breathing is the most important function of the body. Yet most people are not aware of their breathing patterns and have little control of them. But, as we have witnessed during and after a dive, freedivers experience lowered pulse and heart rate.
Couldn't we use these techniques that have allowed average people to become world champions by maximizing their lung capacity and their lung function, and use that to help somebody who's suffering from a cardiac or a respiratory disease? I really feel there's an application for this beyond freediving competition that will really help people.
What was thought involuntary may offer many medical benefits for people suffering from asthma, sleep apnea, strokes, and heart attacks. So, what may be considered the world's most dangerous sport could actually end up being of significant medical importance. Only time will tell.
Freedive.
People that you'll find that are typically scared of the ocean are people who have not been exposed to it. I think with the right training and enough training, we're all capable of the same thing.
After all the world records, the competition, the deep dives, the experiments, what it really all boils down to for us is when you're free diving on a reef. Free, weightless, you're almost touching the fish with your bare hands, and there is really no better way to feel closer to nature, to feel a part of it.
As soon as I go underwater, I immediately forget about our problems, completely amazed by what I see. No artificial environment comes close to the majesty of nature. There is the lionfish, incredibly beautiful but lethally poisonous. And the territorial red grouper. These creatures are not afraid of me, perhaps merely bothered by my intrusion. But most are actually as curious about me as I am about them. I find hundreds of yellowtails covering the reef like a garden. While nearby, a school of mighty barracudas floats in mid-water, looking like steely submarines on patrol. Unencumbered by heavy tanks and their noisy bubbles, I silently observe as the cycle of life plays out before my eyes.
Freediving is definitely just one way that I'd like to experience the ocean. If it's windy, you go windsurfing. If there's waves, you go surfing. If it's flat, we go freediving. Definitely a complete, well-balanced way to enjoy the ocean. If I could spend more time one place than the other, I'd pretty much rather be in the water.
The ocean is really a very special place, and freediving is the best way to experience it.
Yasemin, David and Rudi will continue to freedive to world record depths in possibly an endless game measured by increasing meters and seconds. Unfortunately, however, freediving will continue to punish the unlucky and unprepared with tragic finality, but will also intrigue and reward the careful and curious by allowing intimate contact to a beautiful underwater world. Freedivers embody the spirit of adventure, risking their lives and pushing the envelope even further. With an experienced support team, they will prove to the world that deep freediving is more than a sport or a dangerous stunt, but a transition to true exploration.